Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah. In this video, I'm showing you how to make this beautiful love heart flower pot for Valentine's Day. This design looks beautiful when it's framed in a shadow box like the one you can see here, or you can shrink it smaller to go on a greetings card. I've got an example of that too. Here is the matching greetings card version, so it's cut a little bit smaller so that it will look beautiful on that size. This is a 5 by 7 inch card, but you could go even smaller if you wanted to, as this is a fairly simple design with easy to cut shapes. I changed the colours up on this one and I put some gold on there for some extra sparkle, so you can compare the colours on this one to the ones on the shadow box here, to see how just changing a couple of little colours really makes a difference. This is a free SVG which is available on my website, so here's how to find it, and then I'll show you how to make this beautiful love heart tree. Let's get started. You can download the free cutting file for this project at craftwithsarah.com/free-SVGs, or follow the link in the description of this video to go straight to the download page. The download comes in a zip folder, and you need to unzip this before you can upload the files into Cricut Design Space. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the folder, it's time to get the SVG file into Cricut Design Space. Open up Design Space and start a new project, and then go to Upload over on the left, and then Upload Image. You can then either click Browse to find the file on your computer, or drag and drop it in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of your file, and then the one to upload is the one that starts SVG in the file name. It should look like this on this screen, showing a completed picture looking in the window. If yours looks different and you see all the pieces separately on the page instead, that means you've accidentally uploaded the wrong file type. So if that's the case, press cancel down on the bottom right, and then start again, and make sure you choose the file that starts SVG. Go ahead and press continue, and then upload. This is what the file looks like when it's loaded onto your canvas. You can resize it by using the width and height boxes at the top of the screen. Make sure the padlock icon is closed when you resize, and that means you can change either the width or the height. Press enter on your keyboard and the other measurement will change in proportion. Once you've sized it to however big or small you want to make it, the rest of the design is ready to cut, so you can go straight ahead and press make over on the top right of the screen. This will separate out all of the different colours for you. You can change the paper size in the drop down here, and then you can click and drag to move things about to use up less space on your paper. Just make sure when you're moving things that none of the shapes overlap, otherwise they won't cut out properly. When you're happy with how all the pages are looking in Design Space, go ahead and press continue, and that will connect to your Cricut. You can then follow the on-screen instructions to get everything cut out from cardstock. Now this flower design has been specifically created to be a fairly simple design so that you can make it really small to go on a greetings card. I am working on a new series of tutorials on how to perfectly size the designs for a specific size card or shadow box design, and those will be out at the end of February. And for those tutorials, I have dedicated individual and separate tutorials for Cricut machines, silhouette machines, and scan and cut machines, each using the various softwares that those machines use. But for now, if you're making this to go in a shadow box, I do have an older tutorial available, and I'll drop the link to that in the description of this video on YouTube. So go ahead, get everything cut out, and then I'll show you how to stick together this Valentine's heart flower pot design. Here are all the layers of my heart flowers for Valentine's Day all cut out. I've laid each of the pieces one on top of the other, following the assembly guide that's included in the download folder to check that I've got all the pieces in front of me and that I'm happy with all of my colours. However, as with all my layered designs, we'll need to start at the bottom and work upwards. I'll be sticking this together with a combination of glue and foam squares. The glue I'm using is Barely Art Glue, but I also like Kalal, and the reason I like these two glues is that they don't bend or wrinkle the card like some glues can do. The foam squares I'm using are from Dot and Dab, but any will do. These ones are nice and small, which is going to be helpful for getting into some of these smaller shapes, but if yours are larger, you can cut them smaller with a pair of scissors. Alright, so we need to start at the bottom and work upwards, so I'll carefully move the top parts of the design away I don't want to completely take everything out of order after I've already gone to the effort of putting it together. And from just doing that, you can see that actually these hearts would make a lovely little design just on their own, perhaps on another greetings card, or even you could cut them again to go on the envelope or inside the card, or as a gift tag maybe, just as its own little standalone design. But we're going to be putting it on our flowers. First things first is to attach the 2 green pieces, and we'll be doing this with foam squares. So I'll turn the top bit over and add my foam squares to the back. Now when you're putting these on, especially for larger pieces like this, you want to make sure that you've got your foam squares in any of the sort of sticky out bits, like the leaves and the hearts and the edges of the flower pot. And then I'm going to work my way around the edge of the piece, putting a good amount of these foam squares on so it's going to have a really nice stick. But as well as going around the edge, I also want to put some in the middle of any larger sections of cardstock. That's so that we're making a level base of foam squares so that the card will stick really flat and you won't get any dipping down in the middle, which you would do if there was nothing in the middle to support it. And then I'll do the same with the heart shapes at the top. Now that I've got all my foam squares on, I can peel the tops off to reveal the stickiness underneath. These are all now nice and sticky, so I'll bring the bottom layer back in and then gently line this up on top. It's a little bit tricky because it's narrow in the middle where that stem is. So I'll do the base first to get that roughly in place. And then as I'm putting it down, I'm lining up the edge of that left heart with the scalloped edge, and then I'll gently drop down. The reason for just gently dropping it at this point would be that if you're not quite happy with the positioning, you can pick it up and move it because it hasn't actually stuck yet. I'm just picking this up a little bit so I can see better. But that's all nicely lined up along the edge, so I'm happy with that. Push down to stick. Next, it doesn't matter if you work on the flower pot or the hearts. They were kind of built up as 2 separate pieces, so whichever way around you want to do it is fine. I'll do the hearts first since they're the ones furthest away from me. So the next thing we've got is this white bit which covers all 3 hearts, and this one will be glued on top. I haven't used my glue for a couple of weeks, so it's not being very cooperative. It's still coming out there. It can help to pick it up and sort of look at it more from a front-on angle, to make sure you get all those little edges lined up nice and neat. Next up is this pink one, which will sit on like this, and this is another glue layer. You can line this up because the big heart matches exactly the white outline underneath, so you can get that all lined up to know which angle the other 2 hearts go at, and they just leave a little bit of white showing on the edges. Next up is this piece, which will be stuck on with foam squares. We're starting to build some depth into the hearts now. Again, you can use the outline of the largest heart to know where to stick this one. Then next up is the 2 smaller hearts that go near the bottom, or if you want to, you could build up the middle bit next so that you know a little bit more where the edges of that are going to be, to make sure you don't get anything overlapping. I'm just going to go for it straight away with these 2 little pink hearts done with foam squares. Now we're on to building up the big heart, and again, if you wanted to, you could use just these layers on another project as its own little standalone design, because that works really nicely just by itself. Start with the white heart, and this will be put on with foam squares. Then stick on the largest red heart with glue. This goes in the middle so that you've got an even amount of the white showing on each of the sides. Then the pink heart next with foam squares. I'm putting this slightly nearer the bottom than the top so that it matches with these two. And then I've got the red one to go on top, also with foam squares. But this is getting quite thick now, so if you prefer, you could glue this little red one on instead, if you're worried about this getting a little bit too deep. Yeah, that looks lovely. Flower pot next. Start up with the big red bit. This will be done with foam squares. Once again, make sure you get some foam into those sticky out bits, like the hearts along the top and the edges of the flower pot. Line this up and then gently drop down when you think you're happy with where it is. And if you are happy, push down to stick. And we've got the decoration on top in white. This will be glued. Then there's the rim of the flower pot. This is a foam square piece. There we go, there's that one. And then next up, we've got the hearts. So I think I'll glue this double one of the two pinks. It goes there. But I'll use a foam square for the pink one here, and then a foam square for the red one on top. And that one there, and then one more little red one, and this goes on the top bit of the heart where you've got two joined together. Just like that. And there we have it, our Valentine's Day flower pot is all finished and ready to be framed or go on a greetings card or even just displayed as it is. It's completely up to you and how you want to display it. As I said at the beginning, I am currently working on some new tutorials on how to size and display my layered designs on greetings cards and in shadow boxes. And that tutorial will come out at the end of February, and there'll be 3 different versions, one for Cricut, one for Silhouette, and one for Scan and Cut. But if you want something right now, I'll drop a link in the description of this video to an existing tutorial on how to frame these designs. And the tips in that video will work for any layered design, so it doesn't have to just be this hearts one or the one that I show in that video. It's whatever design that you happen to be making. Or if you'd prefer to skip the shadow box and just display it as it is now, I'll also drop the links to separate tutorials on a couple of different stand options, as well as how to make little cardstock hooks so that you can hang your designs directly onto hooks or nails in the wall. There are loads of different options to make your home as wonderfully heart-filled for Valentine's Day as you possibly can. This design is now all ready for me to go and put it into a shadow box, which is how I'm going to be displaying this one. So I'm going to go ahead and go and do that and then come back and show you how it works. Alright, so those craft projects are all finished up. Let's take a little look at them in their final forms. Here is the greetings card version on a 5x7 inch card. I changed up some of those colours to gold because I just think that looks so pretty in there with the rest of the card. And then I've got my larger shadow box one. This is the one you saw me put together in the video. And I've mounted it inside this frame with some pretty heart pattern backgrounds and then some other colours in there to make the hearts really pop out. I've also added some gemstones that I had in my craft stash around the edge, and maybe I went a little bit overboard with them because I've put quite a few in, but can you really ever go overboard with the bling? I don't know, I don't think so. There we go, we've got the shadow box design and the card using the same SVG file for multiple projects. I hope that you've enjoyed this video on how to make my Valentine's Day heart plant pot with your Cricut machine. If you have, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and free SVGs. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!